Welcome to Coach Business. I'm your host, Caryn Gillen, like car insurance, so everybody knows. I know you're calling me Karen in your head. Okay, so today we have the great pleasure and privilege of getting to connect with somebody, Leah, she's here, and we're
Yay.
going to go through one part of her business that she's willing to open up and talk about because it's going to be fun and interesting. So, Leah, thank you for joining us. Can you introduce yourself to the people, how you like to do that?
Yes, hello, the people. I'm Leah, and what I wrote in my little bio thing is I'm a triple certified coach. I'm a New York trained actor. I'm the solo mom to a neurodivergent and totally awesome 13-year-old. And I'm here because one of the things that I want to do is tighten up who it is that I serve and what it is that I do. So I've been a general life coach for quite some time, and I've loved being a GLC. And I will say that while I coach on many things most of the time, I do have some sweet spots that I particularly love. And this is part of what we're going to be diving into, although what we're going to dive into goes beyond it. But my super sweet spots, I'm looking at on a piece of paper because, of course, on a podcast, I'll never remember the words,
Mm.
are are. Yeah. So I really like to work with people on simplifying and deepening their relationships and their decisions and how they make them, and healthy, productive boundaries. And a super spot dear to my heart is how you navigate hard things. Those hard things can be small things like having a conversation, and they can be massive things like somebody getting very ill or dying or major life transitions. But that is a point that I particularly love. And how you manage and deal with your relationships and how you make decisions. And this gorgeous thing called boundaries, not boundaries that say no, but boundaries that you use in order to cultivate that which you care about most and want more of. This is how you do the hard things. And then it's just within that, who am I unconsciously from my cells drawn to do this with the most? Like, who's my most ideal person for this? So
Yeah.
that's a conversation.
Tell me why now? Like, why refine this now?
Oh, I love that question. So, in full transparency, I'm ready to take my business to new levels. I'm ready to impact what I care about in the world more. And I'm going to have that impact by reaching more people. And it's much easier to do that when I'm talking to somebody specifically. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to work with other people,
Mhm.
but it's like I'm an actor. When I'm on camera and I don't have another actor on the other side, or I'm on stage and I'm talking about somebody who isn't there, I know exactly who I'm talking to, and it makes it specific and real.
Yeah.
So now is for me to get really specific and real about who ideally do I want to work with so that I can grow what I want to do. And let me just say this also. So I have a mission, and I say this with complete sincerity, that I would like to end all suffering on the planet, not pain, but suffering. And
Mhm.
I am not going to stop trying to do that until I die. And
Okay.
coaching is just one way that I can truly approach that.
Mhm.
And so that's another reason why now, right?
Yeah.
How do I make my message and reach my people and speak about it in a way that it's so clear what it is I have to offer? So the people who want it and need it, it's much easier for them to opt in.
Mhm. So it sounds like there's this layer of you help people do hard things,
Mhm.
and that there's these core things that you teach, which are boundaries, decision making, and like work through relationship stuff.
Mhm.
Is there a certain, like, could anybody come to you to do those things?
Yeah, pretty much anybody can do it. But here's the interesting thing. So when I was thinking about how to narrow this down, I was thinking the one thing, I mean, this is the beauty of general life coaching, is I get lots of different people all over the place. The
Mhm.
one thing that everybody has in common is this desire to live and engage in their lives in this robust way. And so I have a story I tell about this. Hold on, I'm going to close this door so the young un doesn't come in.
Mm-hmm.
So, 3-ish years ago or so, I had some doctors tell me that part of my brain was atrophying and I'm going to die before my kid turns 18. It's not. So, it's not what's happening. But at the time, I had to wrangle with this. And there was a moment soon after I heard about this that I was sitting in my car in the library parking lot and I was crying, which I think was completely appropriate to the moment, especially
Mm-hmm.
since I solo parent. And I thought, okay, Leah, you have a choice. You either get to live or you get to go with the drama and the narrative of this story. That's your choice. And I chose hard in that moment. I want to live. And my sunroof was open and it was a little bit cold and I felt myself chilled and I thought, oh, I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to close it, make myself warm. And I paused and I said, no, I'm not. I'm going to feel the cold because that's part of what being alive is. And right now, I get to be cold. I
Mm-hmm.
get to have this experience. So, what all my people have in common is a desire to deal with hard things that way. They come to me, and whether it's just a little thing that's going on or a big thing that's going on, they just want to live and be alive.
Mm-hmm.
And then, really interestingly, do you want me to pause for you to ask me a question or should I tell you something else?
Keep going.
So, what's really interesting is when I was going through this ICA work, my ideal client avatar, things start coming to me, right? Not my brain thinking about it. Stuff just sort of drops in, and that's where all the groovy stuff comes. And I really got this thing about women in their 30s. It's not that I don't work with other people, but I keep coming back to women in their 30s. So if anybody listening is a woman in your 30s who's interested in life coaching, it doesn't mean that you're going to do it. I would love to interview you and talk with you because I want to find out more about what's going on in their brains. And then after that are women in their 20s. And then after that are sort of generally people going through whatever it is they're going through. And I think that part of the reason that I am drawn, not wanting to get intellectual about it, about women in their 30s and then before that in their 20s is at this point in my life, there's a bunch of stuff I've learned. And when I was in my 20s and 30s, I really wanted somebody to tell me this, to help me make different choices. When I was an actor in New York, there were things that I wanted to know. When I came back here, when I started coaching, there are things I wanted to know, and people either couldn't or wouldn't tell me.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a particular sweet spot for being able to give that information to women in their 20s and their 30s.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that's also going to make a huge impact on this planet in this moment in history. When you
Yeah.
know how to say yes and say no and feel okay with it, when you know how to create conditions for yourself on the conditions in your life under which you feel most like you, whatever those conditions are. They could be
Yeah.
total shithole conditions. They could be amazing. There's no situation you can't put yourself in where there is not something that you have available to you, even if it's microscopic, by which you can create the condition. And when you have that, things start to change.
Okay. So how come this isn't already clear? How come you haven't put this stake in the ground and just gone for it?
Well, when you get into this flippin' avatar process, there's all this, what's her problem? What is she Googling? I'm like, I don't know. I gotta go find her and ask her. I'm not her. How the fuck am I gonna know? Am I allowed
Yeah.
to swear?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Um,
so it's just about getting over the hump of that and also the hump of my brain when I start visioning big and I just need to keep pulling it back into something doable and
mhm.
remembering that it's not that this is the only person that I'm going to serve, but it gives me somebody specific to talk to who I feel really fired up about.
Yeah. What's your favorite way to put content out in the world?
I have been doing Instagram and Facebook because I understand them and I like talking to people. I'm an actor, so I love being on screen. I can't
Like
wait to,
going live or something?
yeah, I could
Okay.
totally do that. Or recording things. The thing about I like recording things that people can go back to because I completely understand what it is to have a lot to do. I'm caring for people who are dying and people who are ill and people who are at risk. I got a bunch of people who I'm juggling and watching out for. So it's really valuable to me to be able to come back to something, bookmark, and come back to a
Mhm,
2 to 5, sometimes a 10 or a 12-minute video that tells me something that I want. So I like video because I like being able to see the face.
mhm.
I would like to at some point be out there doing live talking to people because I love being in front of a group of people and
Yeah.
it's easy for me.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. And one of the things I'm thinking about is just no matter who we are or like how much experience we have, if we're testing something new, we have to test something new,
Mhm.
right? So there's a way we put it out there and we see what am I going to get back. So like if you were to go write a boundaries little lesson for yourself and then go teach it to women in their 30s
Mhm.
and put it on Facebook, what would happen? Well, probably Instagram actually if they're in their 30s.
Mhm.
Um and then try on a different day, like how does it land when I do boundaries to someone who's had that big aha moment in their life where everything changed? Like is that like as we see all of the different stories going out and the different work going out, you start seeing the patterns of like this really landed, that really didn't land. That doesn't seem to matter to me anymore. This seems to really matter to people. Have you done any of that kind of stuff yet?
I haven't. Doesn't that assume that I have enough of a following now that I know that I'm going to be hitting those people who are going to see it?
You have to start somewhere. Even if you don't have a following now, this is kind of
Yeah.
how you start to have one.
But I mean, just for the efficacy of how this gets tested.
Yeah. But if not, like people can share it. Like I did a reel yesterday that got more views than any reel I've ever done. But it wasn't because all of my people watched it a bunch of times. It's
Well,
because it got shared, right?
yeah, what I'm thinking is I could also write on the top of it for women in their 30s.
Yeah. But I
At
mean
women in their
the
30s, yeah, just to
yeah,
help them find their way.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hell yes, I can totally do it.
Okay.
One of the things that I have to watch out for, as I mentioned before, it's part of why I'm a great coach for doing hard things, is I got a lot of stuff going, and so I am, again, also on boundaries, is I'm really intentional about what I ask myself to do, making sure that I can follow it through, but also that I can follow through in a way that doesn't deplete me. A very clear eye on where my capacity is day by day, week by week, hour by hour,
Yeah.
and feeding that and making sure I've got the bookend of replenish and shore up and replenish before I'm doing the things to put out. So I need to make sure that it fits into that, but still
Yeah. That
pushes
makes
me to the edge because I so do like a challenge.
Yeah. I mean, there's
Yummy,
that.
yummy.
And then with your interview idea,
Mhm.
it's the other thing that you can be posting on social is that call out for those particular people. I'm looking for people. I'm looking for women who are in their 30s and who have had that moment of like, is this all there is? Or like, however you want to title it.
Yeah, that's the piece that I'm looking at is how I'm going to name it. Somehow, what talking to you, it feels simpler because I'm not having to come up with, I don't know, something.
You're not having to do it like get it right or have it dialed in.
Yeah, yeah,
I think the thing that happens when we're trying to like niche down or find our person is we want to have the right language right away so we can go out there and it will work. But it
yeah.
never actually happens that way.
No, no.
So, what I'm curious about for you is what's the decentest language that you can actually go out there and try something
Well,
with?
I really like playing with. So what I've been doing is I just go out in the world and I meet somebody and I like their energy and I meet people pretty easily and I start conversations easily and I just say, do you know I'm doing this thing and you're 30. I would like to interview you.
I love
At
it.
the flooring shop and at the spa when I'm walking by or just whoever. Um, yeah, my criteria has just been you are of this decade
Mhm.
and you're interested in coaching. You don't ever have to have done it, but it's something that you're actually genuinely interested in. And I think I want to add into that. It's something that you'd be willing to pay for if you saw the value,
Mhm.
because those are the people who I want to understand. The people who would never pay for it might think about things differently, and we're not going to be a match. But
Yeah.
I really like. I think I like the idea of playing of the things that are my hot spots around relationships, around boundaries, and I'm going to go back and listen to this. You said something about if you've ever had a moment like this, sort of that hard thing.
Mhm.
Is this all there is? Is there something else?
Yeah, because for you, that was such a big part of this is I had this moment
Yeah.
where, I held my own life in my hands and I chose how I wanted to live it. Most of us don't have that moment. Well, actually, quite a few of us have that moment, but you don't know when it's going to happen or why.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, is it really important that your people have had that moment, or is your work what helps people understand what having that moment is like without having to have it?
Yes, it's that.
Okay.
And it's because this is scale, right? I just had that moment on a large scale, but you can have it on a really small scale
Yeah.
about having to make a phone call to somebody.
Yeah.
I had to let somebody on a team go yesterday, and I was
Yeah.
amazed at how easily I did it with real caring. I mean, I got to
Mhm.
say, this is a really hard conversation to have because I really like you and I really want to work with you. But these are the things that happen, and it's just not a match right now. There's something else that I need, and it's just not in your wheelhouse.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah. I
there's a
mean,
time where that conversation would have just about killed me.
okay. So, how to have a hard conversation. I
Yeah,
mean,
and the willingness to go into, to wanna do it, to not turn away. I the language that's coming to me is not turning away. Something hard happens and you don't turn away, but I'm also noticing that I'm back up here at 20,000 miles, which is what I do, and you're down on the ground translating, which
mhm.
is a skill that I'm developing.
You
How
want
to
people who are turning, like, that's very like willing, turning towards life, interested, curious, open.
Yeah,
Like yeah, these are the people you want. So you want women in their 30s who are really interested
yeah,
in living their life.
yeah. I think I have something very specific at this point in my life to give them.
Yeah.
I'm delighted to work with the men and the women who are younger and older who have this also, and I do regularly, but there's something.
But you want to talk to these people at this stage in their life so that you know who you're talking to. So you have some, so you know which, it's like, what window or door of the house am I always going to come in?
Yeah,
Doesn't mean there aren't other windows or doors that people
yeah,
come in. That's
yep,
always great.
yep.
Okay. If you had a room full, let's say if you had 27 women between the ages of 32 and 38
Mm,
in a room waiting for you to come and help them out right now, like after this talk,
mhm.
what would you go and teach them? What do they need to know right now?
So the litmus I'm thinking of is what's the thing that makes me instantly wanna cry? Because the thing
Yeah.
that lifts that up is the thing that I have something to say on. I Okay, so I'm gonna start up here because that's what I do, and then I'm learning how to
Mhm.
go down into the details. I I want them. God, it sounds cheesy, so there's gotta
It
be other
always
words
does. It's
for it,
okay.
but I really want them to know, for real, you are enough. You have the right to the space that you take up where you're standing. You don't have to apologize for asking for the thing that you want. Doesn't mean you're gonna get it. And I'm thinking of one exquisite young woman I met in a cafe who wanted to, I don't know, I might have told you about this. She wanted to, there's only one plug, and she asked if she could plug in her phone. I was charging my computer, and I just needed a little bit more critical mass on my battery for it to work. And I said, I'm almost there. And she said, that's okay. I'll use it as a reason to just go home. And then said, sorry for bothering you. And I paused her and said, listen, hope this doesn't sound weird. I am a coach, and I just want you to know you never have to apologize for asking for what you want. Like
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
If women understood that without the need to have to push or explain, they would be able to be vulnerable and present and strong and uncertain all at the same time while saying, no, I can't do that. I
Mhm.
can't do this. Scary as fuck to say it. But this, like, that's the only way I know how to do it at this point is I just have to say that. That.
I have a feeling that if I asked you to go away and come up with these pillars for living
Mhm.
for these women, that you could do it really easily.
Oh, yeah, I probably could.
Okay. And that would be really exactly what needs to be shared. Like whatever those pillars are your next 10 blog posts, are the 10 talks you do wherever you want to give them, live, online, anywhere.
Mhm.
But there's something that will happen when you put the stake in the ground of like, this is what they need to know. It also sounds like you're like, here's how we decondition the patriarchy out of you so that you can be who you are and know you're enough and that you always have been.
Yeah, and I'm going to go beyond the patriarchy. I'm just going to say we're going to decondition the obligation that whatever your family or society or the culture you
Culture.
came
Yeah.
from gave you.
Yes.
I just was having this conversation with a client this morning. It's not that you're not going to do the things that you felt obligated to do. It's just that you're going to do them because you want to do them, not because you're obligated to do them.
Right. Yes.
And that fine line, it's a series of paper fine lines, but
Yeah.
those paper fine lines change everything on the landscape.
Mhm. To me, that feels like on the way
Mhm.
to defining and maybe refining those things, but putting those stakes in the ground, you'll know exactly who you're here for, and who you're here for will know exactly why you're here for them.
Yeah.
Do
Oh,
you want
good.
to
Then
go?
I don't have to know whether she has a dog or what kind of
You don't
car
have to
she
know any of that
drives.
stuff because these will be the calling cards. It's like
Mhm.
universal calling cards, energetic, whatever. It's like, I'm just going to show up and tell people what I know to be true and that this is the world that I want to help create. And the people who need to come in will be like bing, bing, bing. It's like they're not going to be able to not lean in to
Yeah.
that when they see it.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to look at how this gets. Well, I think part of the area of growth for me and exploration is going to be how to say the things so that they are understandable but not dumbed down. So like one
Yeah.
of the big things is that I like to talk to people about is how can two completely opposing things be true at the same time?
Oh, yeah. It's the
You
best.
can love me, and the way you love me isn't enough.
Hmm.
They're
Even
both
though
true.
love is good.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not enough. Like you really are loving me 100%, and it's not enough at the
Yeah.
same time.
Yeah.
Then you're not in blame, you're not finger pointing, you're not having to get defensive. It's just really clear.
Hmm. Yeah. So if I get in my helicopter and go up a few thousand feet, to me, this looks like you're helping people increase self awareness, increase ownership of their own life.
Hmm.
And that the clarity that we have when we're more self aware leads to more life satisfaction, more alignment, all the things that we really want. Um, and that make everything feel better, make everything so much clearer.
Yeah, so then it becomes the women who want, you just said something wonderful, and I don't remember what it was. You said something about thank God for recordings we can go back on. You
Yeah.
said awareness, and then there was something else you said that my brain is interpreting in my language as more agency over your life.
Yeah. I said ownership, agency ownership.
Ownership.
Yep.
I like ownership. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're young women who want more agency and ownership over their life. It is not contingent upon what they have and have not accomplished to date. They
Mhm.
might have accomplished a ton. They might have accomplished what they don't think is a lot, completely irrelevant. From this point forward, there is more awareness, agency, and uh, whatever your word is that my brain is not holding on to.
Ownership.
Ownership. I love that word, ownership. They
Yeah.
want more ownership in their relationships, in their work, in how they're showing up, in how they're
Yeah.
handling sticky situations. They want to know that no matter what I can teach them is no matter where you are, no matter what's going on, without exception, I can give you tools so that you are continually having more ownership
Yeah.
over you within the circumstances that you can't control.
Because
Which,
relationships, boundaries, and decision making, you
well,
need all
those
that stuff to have ownership in your life.
those are the pieces that create all this other stuff.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I want to know, I say own my life. We like that.
Yeah.
I'm in my 40s, but I
Yeah.
want to know, what does a 33-year-old say when
Yeah.
she's talking about owning her life? What's her lingo? Because I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
That's luckily what you get to go find out.
Yeah. Oh, I got some people to talk to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so then the other question is going to be is what would you like to have more ownership on? What do you think you already have solid ownership and agency over? What would you like to have more of?
Mhm.
What have you not even conceived you could potentially have agency and ownership of? It's never even occurred to you such a thing as possible. What would that be? And
Hmm.
what's the difference between where you are now and where that would be? Like, what might that make possible?
Right. So that's opening up their eyes to possibility and like educating them on what else is there.
Hmm.
And where you're going to meet a new client and where you want your language to be in terms of here's my niche is
Hmm.
where they actually are. So that when they're having the thoughts in their head about their own lives and you say a sentence, it's the same one.
Yeah.
Because if you talk to them 40 steps down the road, they'll miss you every time. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm thinking that when I'm in interviews, these are the questions that
Yeah.
I'm going to ask the people I'm interviewing.
But also don't miss the part before you put any language in their head and
Oh, I
get a
see what you're
lot of
saying.
theirs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, tell me like how you think about your future and like what are the words they're all using,
Yeah.
right? And make sure you get, because we all make the mistake, me probably more than anybody, of talking to people where I know they will be after we work together
Uh,
versus right where they are when they're contemplating doing the work and they're thinking they might be ready and they need to come in and hear me catch them there versus where my clients are 6 months later.
and this is my act of love is just catching that language.
Yeah. The better you can get at being patient with yourself and letting them speak and you tracking it,
Yeah.
even if it's hard, the
It's not,
more
not,
impact you get to make.
yeah, totally easy. Not a problem.
Great.
Easy
Awesome.
peasy.
Okay. So I mean, I think that's your number one homework. It's like you have this idea of, okay, it's ownership over their lives. So what is the lingo they're using when they're describing things like this?
Yes. So here's a question. I like the direction you're giving me about how to ask the questions. Because the questions I was thinking of asking are imposing some of my ideas and jumping forward.
Yeah.
So let's take a quick minute here, or let's just take a full-bodied minute here and get me clear on how I'm going to ask this question. So I have,
Some go-to starters.
yeah, how do you, I frequently start with just tell me what's going on in your life right now.
That's
What's
a
going on in
great
your
start.
relationships? What's going on in your
What's
work life?
what's the thing that keeps you up at night?
That is the second question I ask everybody.
Okay.
What's keeping you up at night?
If you were chatting with your best friend right now, what would you guys be talking about?
Oh, I like that one.
What's your biggest frustration?
Hmm.
Or could talk about any regrets? I don't know if they have regrets yet.
Hmm.
What are they afraid they're too late to do?
Oh, I love that
Or what
one.
did they miss out on?
I moved to New York as an actor in my mid-20s, and I was like, I'm too old. I've already missed it. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so I like that. I also like, what is it? I also like the, do you know what you want? Like, is there something you really want? What is that? And then as they talk, 1,000 questions come up.
Yeah. And the words fall out. And then just you'll do this naturally, but just watching for those words that ping again and again.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yep. And that's it.
So
and then you,
exciting.
what you don't want to miss out on is you do this and you need to, at some point, put it out and make an offer in some way and say
Mhm.
things out loud so that your potential future clients can bounce off of it. Because we can get lost in a research project like this. We can think we need more. And at some point, you just got to go out there and offer something. And then every, when you're coaching one on one, like every 3 to 7 clients, you can get better at how you post about it, write about it, the keywords you use. So, like, this is going to change. Every single thing that you throw out there will be a shitty first draft, and everything gets to be updated.
I love the shitty first draft. I do them all the time.
Yeah,
Taught my 13-year-old, it took the pressure off of stuff. Oh, it's just your shitty first draft.
no worries.
What I would like to do with it is create a short webinar, like find what's the
Yeah,
question or the thought that comes up,
yeah.
and just have an easy webinar that
Hmm.
gives you 1 to 3 solid tools that you can take and can change everything
Yeah.
and see how those go.
And check in with your people. Do they go to webinars? Do they go to IG lives? Where do they go to consume?
Yeah.
Right? Because webinars are kind of not the favorite anymore, I've noticed.
Ah,
So
okay.
so just see, where
So
are you? Where do you hang out online? Like, where do you listen to things.
Yeah.
Had one other thing pop up. Can't remember.
Gonna give you time to remember.
Okay.
I can ask them also if they ever go to things live. I love talking to
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. Ask them, do you know anywhere where I could host a talk like this? Because those would be the places they're hanging out.
Mm.
Knitting club, wine club, book club.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
so fun.
It's so fun. And then you get to do what you want to do. Just don't wait too long. If I remember what I wanted to say. What by what date would you have this first thing that you present to the 30-year-olds?
So I'm pulling up my calendar. I would like to say, oh, I'm great with time and terrible with time all at the same time, depending. I mean,
You want to have enough time to do some interviews
yeah,
to get
I mean,
inspired.
that's what it is. I always like to think, oh, no problem, I can do that. And then I can't do it quite as fast as I think.
Yeah, that's okay.
I want to say that I've got something scheduled the week of May 27th.
May 27th. So that's
And
like
then,
25 days from now.
yeah, well, it can't actually be the 27th. I'm looking also at all the things that have to happen between now and then.
How about
I'm
by May
thinking,
27th, you have it on your calendar, whether it's in June or even
all
July,
right,
but you have it, you know what it is, and you've put it on the calendar.
absolutely. I'm going to say the 28th because I'll be away on the 27th. I'm going to say on the 28th, I have on my calendar. Oh, that's not a work day. Um, on the 28th, I have on my calendar for my, oh, I can do an 8 to 10 work session.
Cool.
My 8 to 10 work session is starting to plan out the specifics of where and when,
Awesome.
where I'm going to do, who I'm emailing to say I've got this.
Okay. So it's happening.
Oh, I really want to do it before then. Like I want the talk to happen on the
You're
20th. I need to slow
absolutely
down.
welcome to do this as soon as possible. But I like that you're giving yourself some time
Yeah.
because I know you've got a lot going on, right?
Yeah.
And I want this to feel like a win, not like a, oh, shoot.
So here's what I'm assigning myself. I have two people in particular in mind, and I am going to listen back on this and do this, the pillars of what it is for living. I'm gonna run it by these two women in particular, and I'm gonna ask them flat out, where would you go for this? Like, is this interesting to you? And
Mhm.
where would you go? Where like you and 5 friends would be there.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna get it on the schedule because I'm fine with winging things. I don't need it all written out word by word. I know
Mhm.
this content really, really well.
Yep.
So I just need an outline and a venue.
Yeah. There you go.
Mm, that was fun.
And I don't want to miss the other piece of homework that we talked about, which was a challenge I issued. So you can say yes, no, or make me a counteroffer. But
Okay.
do you want to set those stakes in the ground and say, like, I am here to do this? This is what I believe
Yeah.
changes the world for these people. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, because it feels good. Part of the problem that I've had is when I'm trying to find the thing, it just doesn't feel right. It's missing something. And so I haven't been willing to say that's the thing because it's just not, I can feel it's not right. But what you're talking about, I can
You can
get
find it.
specific with it, but it's encompassing what it is that I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now I
And
just have to get specific.
yeah, I could see this becoming something that maybe grows with you a little bit, but also could become a page on your website of like, we're people who, and then these are the things,
Yeah,
right?
right. And then people from many generations and many backgrounds and many countries and many continents
Yeah.
and many languages can say, I am that also.
Right. Because what we are expands us, doesn't contract us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Any last anythings before we wrap up?
No, that was totally awesome. And it's an absolute delight talking with you.
Yeah, you too. I appreciate you letting us in for this part of the work. It's like such an important and energetic part. Also, it can be so foggy. So
Yeah.
it's been good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again to Leah for being here and for being willing to share your issue with us. I always really, really appreciate it. And for anybody listening, if you found yourself in that process, I want to make sure you have the main takeaways. Go with what you know and take some action. You're going to learn more the more action you take. So, as much as you know now, shitty first draft, go take some action, go do something, go put something out there so that the world has something to bounce off of. If you're just sitting there quietly with all of the stuff in your head and in your notebooks, no one's going to be able to help you get clear. So, get out there and take some action with what you do know. I know it feels awkward. I know it feels like weird, even, but this is how we find out what's here for us and who are the people who are really excited about what we're excited about. We got to put something out there. Okay. So don't hold back. Just get out there. Thank you for being here. Don't forget to follow or subscribe to the podcast. And why don't you leave a written review while you're here? I would love that. All right. Thanks for being here. Bye bye.